What's up, my dudes? So in this video, I wanted to check out the whole career mode kind of thing they're supposed to have with Supercross 2, the official video game. I just wanted to look on their website here real quick to specifically talk about this one aspect of the game, because I think that it's certainly a bigger portion of the game, even though obviously you guys know me. I'm more into the actual filling on the bike and the gameplay more than I am, like campaign style stuff, but still think it's worthy to come in here and talk about and kind of see what their future potentials and ideas they have for the game in the future. So I'm just going to read these off real quick, then I'll go to some actual gameplay and we'll talk about it. So basically it says, start your career and chase the glory. The career of Supercross 2 has been developed to offer players an engaging and progressive gaming experience focused on three main milestones: fame, rivalry, experience. Okay, so fame is useful to receive the attentions of increasingly prestigious sponsors. Got to get that Monster Energy sponsor, you know what I'm saying, Doc? And then you got rivalry, an indicator that establishes the competition among the various riders. Experience, unlock the new game contents, raising experience points at every challenge. I can read wicked fast, dog. So yeah, basically that's what we got going on here. Alright, dudes, so when it comes to the first official Monster Energy Supercross game, I feel like with the whole campaign side of things, I mean, they just did an average job on that. I mean, it certainly is nothing that is like, oh my gosh, the campaigns on these games have just been so amazing, or there's like this next level sort of, kind of actual experience in career mode or anything like that. I think you're going to see a lot better of a thing on the LCQ Studios motocross game when it comes to that. I mean, I've heard a lot of stuff that they've got plans for that when it comes to like having to work your way through Loretta Lynn's and move all the way up through small bikes and really get sponsors to actually move up to big bikes and stuff like that. So I think you're going to see a lot more of that in that LCQ Studios motocross game's going to be coming out who knows when. But some of you guys know that game's been announced a ways back there, and some of you guys know a little bit of information on it. But as far as like the milestone games, they're just kind of, just standard campaign styles, so I think this is something that they might be trying to advance a little bit here in Supercross 2, the official video game. And personally, for me, it's like, how long can a campaign mode really intrigue you? How long can that really keep you playing the game? I guess I always look at it more like, if you're going to put your resources into anything, you need to put it in the shit that's the most important. You need to put it in the stuff that's really, really going to keep you playing the game, aka the actual filling on the bike, physics, air physics, whip physics, being able to actually have a true skill gap to the game, even if it's arcade, so that it gives you a reason to come back. It gives you that reason. For me personally, the biggest thing that keeps me coming back to any motocross game, period, whether it be any sort of arcade motocross game or simulator, does not matter, any of them. The thing that keeps me coming back the most is that feeling of being able to basically always feel like you can get a little bit faster, always feel like you can hit a jump a little bit of a different way, or hit a little bit of a different rhythm, or that, the actual skill, feeling like you're getting better at it, feeling like you have to get more consistent and really feel like you're actually progressing in the gameplay of the game. That's what I like the most, personally, in motocross games. That's what keeps me playing the most. Now, for some people, it seems to not be that way, and I just simply don't understand those people. Some people, they almost care more about there being like a campaign mode and unlocking like upgradable parts to the bikes and all that, more than they do about the actual skill gap of the game. It makes no sense. But basically, obviously they're going to try to put some resources into this. They basically put that as one of their big header things on their website for Supercross 2, the official video game. I just don't know how much more extensive it's really going to be than it was in the first game, right? So that's kind of what I'm trying to get in here and talk about. But, so basically the whole rivalry thing, I don't know exactly how all that works. I guess I don't know if you can, get some trigger finger turn to Twitter fingers and get some drama, and then have some other rider that you ran into in the game run into you in the next race. That would be cool if they had it to that extent, right? If you could somehow, like, if you really ran it in hard on somebody in the campaign mode, right? Obviously, actually going through the story mode of the game. If you run into, let's just say, Ken Roxon in the game or some random dude in the game, well, the next weekend, maybe he's, like, out to hunt you. Maybe, like, the AI is actually totally changed to just full-blown heat-seek, rocket launch your ass, and they're just, like, trying to take you out the whole next race. That'd be kind of interesting if it was, something to that kind of extent. It'd kind of spice it up a little bit. It'd spice that campaign up just a little bit. If you had like a piss-off meter on some of the riders, and if you peek that puppy out too much, then, they try to take you out. That'd be kind of cool. It'd be interesting. I mean, I doubt it's going to be to that sort of extent. I don't really know. I mean, they call it rivalry, so I think I'm kind of giving it maybe a little too much credit here, but we'll see how that whole system turns out. But I think, if you're trying to really make like a campaign story mode that's trying to be like a true story mode, that would be a cool, sort of feature to have in there, and really have every different kind of AI rider ride differently in the game depending on which rider they are. So like Dungey in the game, which he's not going to be in the second game, but I'm trying to make an example here. Basically, Dungey should ride way more consistent, not as wild, not as apt to take you out, unless you're James Stewart. No, that was I don't think that was Dungey's fault in that instance. I think that was just a kind of a race incident there, and Stewart turned down really quick. That was just one of those weird moments there. But I don't really think there's anybody to blame there. But of course, James Stewart fanboys are going to blame Ryan Dungey in that moment. Yeah, the only moment Dungey's ever remotely in his life almost kind of sort of maybe made a dirty pass, and people want to get pissed at him. It's kind of funny, but either way, basically what I'm getting at is, like, let's just say Dungey in the game, he's not as apt to take you out. He's real consistent riding, but he's going to be there in the points by the end of the series, if you have to go up against him. But if you have somebody like, let's just say they're somehow able to have Stewart in there, he's going to be like wicked fast, super quick, all that. And if you have Barcia in there, he's going to try to take you out. You know what I'm saying? The kind of that, having that each individual rider kind of thing. And if they ever get it to that sort of like extent, then it'll make the racing with the AI and the whole career mode a little bit more interesting. And let's just say you're like tied points going into Vegas with somebody or whatever, and you're racing against Osborne. You better get your ass ready. You know what I'm saying? Little Savachi Osborne, if you could have that kind of moment in the game, like let's just say the AI knows that they're close to you in points and they know they have to go for the championship, so they would try to like really, really go for it in the game AI-wise. That's definitely some more advanced AI to get it to that point. But I'm sure there's a way they can go in there and change that, like adjust on how aggressive the AI would be trying to pass you and how quick the AI is and all that. So I think eventually that'd be cool to see that. I don't know if we're really going to see that like in Supercross 2, the official video game, but I just mean for all Supercross games, motocross games, it'd be cool to eventually see something to that extent. That would be like a true career sort of campaign mode to the game. And all these thoughts are just running through my head, like you could have potentially certain other riders in the actual campaigns, Supercross series that you run in. Maybe they break a bone one round and they're out, or maybe they have some sort of injury and they're only out for a couple of rounds or something like that. And it'll make it interesting, and it would make it separate this game from all the other games. If they really try to push that sort of like a bit more dynamic Supercross championship campaign series, let's just say every different time you go through it, it can be a different set of outcomes that happen with the other riders. Like they can either do really good, or they can do really bad, or they can get taken out and do bad, or get injured, or all these little things. And I'm just going to tell you this right now, if Supercross, the official video game, doesn't really start doing that kind of stuff, some other motocross game will do that kind of stuff and take it to that extent and really start making like a quite more of a dynamic, changing, every different time you go through the championship series is totally different. But a game like this, that basically the entire game is based upon one simple championship series of 1 year, with the replica tracks and all that, I would just assume it would have that sort of thing in it, where it's like, super, super dynamic rivalry, fame, points by each round, that whole side of it. And maybe if you wreck, you might get injured. That'd be interesting if they kind of went down that road. You could potentially get injured. So wouldn't that be interesting? Damn. And I've thought about some of this being in a game like MX Simulator as well, right? Not quite like the campaign type of extent, but just simply if you wreck too hard in a pro race or something, maybe you wreck and you twist your wrist up, or you hurt your ankle or something and it's like harder to shift, or if you hurt your arm or something, maybe it's like it jacks up your steering, or you can bend your handlebars when you wreck, or if you fully break a bone, then you're just completely out for that race. That whole sort of side of it, I think that'd be very interesting in a game like MX Simulator. But basically, when you start talking about a game like this, or any new style arcade or simulator or whatever, I feel like what you got to get down first is the gameplay, the feeling on the bike, the ground physics, in-air physics, whip physics, jump designs, feeling in the air, corner physics, traction, leaning, hucking, all that's got to be done before you ever even think about adding more campaign crap. And that's all just little extra. You don't want to get the carriage before you get the horse. You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess that's kind of the way I've always looked at some of these milestone games. I feel like they put their resources in things that you would put in most motocross games at the very end, at the last things you would do. And it seems like some of the things they seem to put off and do at the very end, like physics things in these games, they seem to slack on that. And it's just very confusing to me. But, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they do the whole campaign thing. But it's certainly cool to come in here and talk about it. I think it'd be interesting to have that, and it'd give you a reason to want to actually go back in there and run through the different Supercross series and campaigns all over again, right? But just thinking about that game like the LCQ Studios game, when you talk about a true campaign, that gets me a little bit giddy and gets me kind of excited about that sort of campaign where you start from basically like a little kid, right? And you've got to like race these local vibe races on a damn 50cc bike and then move up to a 85 or something like that, and then you got to go to Loretta Lynn's and win on an 85, and then it like all carries through this super long campaign system to even get to like a pro team. If you don't make it, then you got to like do this privateer team and try to win on a privateer bike, and like this shit could get really, really deep in a game, when you really think about it like that. And I've heard through the grapevine that's basically what they're doing with that LCQ Studios game. I don't know if that's really gonna actually be the way it is when it comes out. That would be a task and a half to make a motocross supercross game basically be like that. It's almost like a living, breathing, full motocrosser's career experience in a video game, right? It's basically what I'm talking about here. And MX Simulator captures that in the sense of like, you become this certain person in MX Simulator, and you have to work really, really hard at it. You got to, prove yourself in the amateur class to even get a pro license in the game, and then you race on all the replica tracks in the pros. You got to sit there and train every day on that game. You got to really try hard to do good at it. You got every setup you could possibly imagine on the bike, every little thing in that sense. So MX Simulator has captured that sort of like real, like having a real motocrosser's career, full career, but in a video game, right? MX Simulator has totally captured that feeling, but just not in the sense of like, really like starting on an 85 and having to go to Loretta's and having to have like a real actual pro team, and that's the only way you can get like the factory parts. It's not really like that on MX Simulator. Anybody has access to any parts in the game, which I think is cool too, because it keeps everything even in that sense. So I feel like MX Simulator does all this in just about the best way you could in a game, but there's certainly ways that you could do it more and advance it more, but I don't necessarily know if that would work very good in a game like MX Simulator. So just because I'm saying all this stuff, I'm not saying like, yo, this type of stuff should really be in MX Simulator or whatever. I'm just saying it would be interesting to see it in some sort of motocross game in the future. I think it would be cool. But yeah, the whole experience thing in the games, you kind of move up through the tiers of that. you know, in most arcade motocross games, like you start off with a really shitty bike and you can't move and all that kind of stuff. Then you buy chassis, you buy exhaust, you buy all this stuff. And believe it or not, even though MX Simulator doesn't really have any sort of buying parts for the bike system or anything like that, it still kind of is like that, because when you start in the game, you have everything set up for a beginner. You know, you've got a really mellowed out gearing, so it's almost like you don't have that advanced exhaust. You've got a really mellowed out suspension, soft suspension, so you can't really jump stuff really big. You've got all of your actual steering and chassis type settings very restrictive so that you can actually control the bike and learn the bike as a beginner on MX Simulator. And then over time, you play it, you make your gearing a little more peppy. You go to a faster dyno. It's like a little bit, you know, more power comes more responsibility, but you can go faster. Almost like you're buying a exhaust part in one of these video games. You make your suspension a little bit stiffer, so you're able to do more with the suspension. Almost like you're buying a suspension upgrade in one of these arcade motocross games. And you're going in there and loosening all the steering stuff up and the chassis stuff up. Almost like you're buying a chassis upgrade in one of these video games. So a lot of people don't realize that, even though MX Simulator does not have any sort of buying parts or bike upgrade type system to it, it basically does. If you understand the game, you'd realize that. Like, it pretty much does. But it's just in a different kind of way. So that's an interesting thing to think about that I feel like a lot of people don't really understand. But either way, man, I don't want to make this video 5 hours long here. I just wanted to get on here and kind of chitty-chat about the whole campaign thing for Supercross 2, the official video game. So I guess it comes out in, like, I don't know, whatever, like 2 weeks from now, something like that. I'm sure some other people will probably get some early access, but you know, you Spence boy won't be getting it. I wouldn't get early access to this shit if I had 200,000 subscribers, just from, you know, they don't want to create any bad business here, if you know what I'm saying. I'm a little too real for them, you know. You know how it is. So, but I just want to remind some of you guys, be aware. I know this game's close to coming out. You're gonna have a lot of people making videos on this game. You're gonna have a lot of YouTubers. Just be careful. All I'm saying is just be careful with what opinions you're believing and what type of thing you know, you're really looking into, and thinking that just be careful on the people that you're believing when it comes to YouTubers, because certain people are paid, certain people getting early access, certain people are getting this and that. So you just want to be careful, you know. Just be careful on them opinions that you're really believing 100% before you even get your hands on the game, right? You got to kind of take everything with a grain of salt right now before you even play it, because it's going to be easy for people to go in there and make it look like it's a lot better than what it actually is. So just be careful, right? That's all I'm saying, man. So either way, boys, just want to get on here and talk about some career campaign mode, stuff like that. There's a lot of different interesting things you could do with it. Yeah, dudes, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later.